Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Thanks for stopping by. So I will have to say we're officially in fall in Minnesota, and I love this time of year. It's the pumpkin, apple spice candles. It's the sweaters. It's just that cool, crisp air. I love it. I mean, I love every season for different reasons, but honestly, there's something great about fall. And then going into Thanksgiving, Christmas, so nostalgic. So anyways, plus, you know what? There's nothing better than jeans and a sweatshirt and going to a football game, especially a college football game. So, anyways, let me know if you're a big lover of fall. Sister Emily, I know that you are because you and I are candle gurus. So, all right, with that being said, let's get started. I want to share a little bit about last night's ball. I know most of you heard me talk about it in another episode or another video. It was really neat. I'm not going to go into all of it because there's so much depth and I would not be able to share it in this short video. But I'll put a link, so if anybody that's interested, it's called Milkweed Editions, and the ball was titled this year. It's a different title every year, and I know they focus on different types of writers. So this year was on poets. So it was called Poetry Now, and I'm trying to think. Let me think. It was Poetry Now, The Art of Connection. So I loved it, and what I thought, for me, what I took home greatly is how much writing, whether it's poetry, a book, a novel, whatever it is, how much it affects us, but it affects us all in different ways. So whatever, of course, you're experiencing, you're going to take it in a little bit different than others, and it also depends on what you're reading. So I'm one that loves to read positive, affirmative books. That just works well for me. I want to stimulate those positive, good emotions. But I'm not afraid to feel fear and sit with my emotions either when I'm in a darker space, which I've been there before. I know we all have. So I'm one that's definitely a believer of feeling your emotions, whether it's positive, negative, doesn't matter. Feel it, own it, don't be afraid of it, and move forward. But anyways, a lot of thoughts came up, so I'm not even going to pull our little message cards today because I have enough to talk about just with last night's ball. And also my neighbor, the same neighbor that invited myself and another neighbor to the ball, had sent a really cool podcast. He said, after seeing your channel, I know that this podcast talks a lot about what you're focused on, which happens to be mindfulness. So I know here you'll hear a lot about mindfulness in our soul's journey and growth. I think it's really powerful to be able to lean on our mind, but really train our mind for positive thoughts. So I'm going to share a parable that came through the podcast that I just received. So we're going to do that, but I will share at least the daily message before we get started on the parable. So here we go. Today's message. I am stubborn about my goals, but flexible about how I get there. So this is key for a lot of us, right? I mean, heck, if I would have not been a bit flexible in my life, I would probably be pretty discouraged. So my goals at 22 were, start my nursing career, get married, have kids by 24, maybe be a stay-at-home mom at that point. And now look at me, fast forward 41 years. I am single, no kids, no longer working as a nurse. Things are really different. So I'm glad that I've been flexible because somehow my majority of my goals at 22 were to be prosperous and happy. And that I am. So, my road has been way different than I thought I would ever take. And I know that we all have our ideas and goals and thoughts, but, it's good to be flexible because it doesn't always work out as we have planned. It works out even better. So, with that being said, the parable, it's a neat one. I'm going to read it to you because it's a bit longer. And let me know if you've heard of this one. So it's the tale of two wolves. And you'll see how this is all connecting here between last night's ball. One of the poets really mentioned the importance of being mindful. Like I said, the neighbor had sent me a podcast. You know what? I wrote it down because I'm going to write a little bit about him in my, let me pull it up. And I'm going to need my glasses, you guys. This is terrible. Okay, so yes, the podcast is The One You Feed by Eric Zimmer, but what he titled, The One You Feed is on the parable of the two wolves. So let me read it quick here and let me know what your thoughts are. One evening, an old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people, so in the mind. He said, "My son, the battle is between two wolves inside of us all. One is evil. It is anger, envy, jealousy, doubt, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, security, and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility." Alexa, volume down. Sorry, that might be loud in the background. I love music. It's always on. So the other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence. I love that word. Empathy, generosity, forgiveness, truth, compassion, and faith. The grandson thought about it for a minute and said, "Well, grandfather, which wolf wins?" The Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." So I love that. So in this podcast, what Eric does is he will ask his guests, "What do you think about that parable? What does that speak to you? How does that, resonate with you, basically?" And so for me, it really plays on my joy of becoming more mindful every day and wanting to help others get there too. So, because it is work. I mean, there's so many statistics. Bruce Lipton, for one, you hear me talk about him a lot. 95% of the time we are in our subconscious state, 96% of the time. So our conscious state is the creative state, the brain that's creating whatever you want, right? That we are in most of the time only 5%, which is a crazy number to hear. So you even think about when you're driving your car down the road, you're in the subconscious state most of the time. You're not thinking about how you start it. I got to put my blinker on to go right. I've got to get into this lane or merge. Unless you're just starting, right? I've lately been behind some student drivers. I'm like, oh, here we go. Because just, we've all been there. So it's great. But I just remember those times of like the stress of learning to drive, right? You're like, I think I failed my first driver's test because I didn't come to a complete stop at a four-way. I stopped and kind of rolled in as somebody had just passed through. Immediate fail on my 16th birthday. So anyways, kind of funny. But where I am going with this is I just want us all to be able to be in that mindful state. And what that does, it allows you to check in with your emotions. If you're feeling the evil side of things, guilt, shame, greed, depression, anxiety, you can get out of that. You can get into the positive side. So those are the tools and tricks that I will be talking about and teaching. Of course, I can always do a one-on-one session with anyone too. If you want more in-depth one-on-one time, we can absolutely set that up. I've got a free consultation for 15 minutes. Or if you're ready to dive in, we can just dive right in with either a coaching session or an actual RTT session. So, all right, with that being said, I can tell we're already 8 minutes in and it is time to let you all go. All right, sending you all so much love. We'll talk more about mindfulness in the videos to come. All right, let me know if that resonated with you, and we will be in touch. All right, bye.